Today's resource person, Dr. B. Ravikumar, Associate Professor, IIT Hyderabad.
Thank you very much. So good afternoon everyone. Welcome to the 1 week AICTE sponsored online STTP program on research trends in renewable energy sources and their integration into smart grid, day 4 afternoon session. So our today's resource person for the afternoon session is Dr. B. Ravikumar sir. Sir received BTech degree in EEE from Nagarjuna University in 2002 and MSc Master of Science degree in Electrical Engineering in 2004 and PhD degree in 2009 from IIS Bangalore. During 2010 to 13, Sir worked as a senior executive in technology at Global R&D Center, Crampton Greaves Limited, Mumbai. Sir joined in the Department of Electrical Engineering, IIT Hyderabad as an assistant professor in July 2013. Currently, Sir working as associate professor in IIT Hyderabad. Sir research interested areas include computer aided power systems, analysis, distribution automation, artificial intelligence techniques and its applications in power systems and power system protection and optimization, distribution system automation and wide area monitoring, protection and controlling, and also microgrid controlling and protection. So, sir will continue the session. So, thank you. Sir, please continue the session.
Thank you, Mr. Gopinath, for the brief introduction of me. Yeah. I think there is a resound is coming.
Yes, sir. Just.
So, is there any problem with my network? I think my network is fine.
Yes, sir. Everything is fine, sir. Yes, sir.
The screen is visible, right? Improving resiliency, grid connected.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Good afternoon to all of you. Yeah. So today's presentation is on improving resiliency in grid connected renewable energy sources. Okay. So the resiliency in general, the resiliency is expressed in terms of power quality and stability. Okay. So improving the stability as well as the power quality aspects when these grid connected renewable energy sources are there. Okay. So in general, the content of the presentation has been organized like initially I will just give some introduction about the challenges that generally occur in the renewable energy connected grid connected systems, and then there are some standard values that we need to maintain, okay, in order to have a fruitful renewable energy integration. And there are some opportunities from the government side as well as the our ecological conditions. Okay, so what are the opportunities that we are having about that we'll, and to have a fruitful renewable energy integration, what are the current trends, and what is the we proposed a methodology, okay, for the fruitful grid integration, and how it will be presentation will go on. Okay, so in this picture if you see, okay, so this is the typical basic power system network structure. Okay, generally we will have generating station, okay, generation, distribution and transmission. Okay, generally the generating stations where we will have bulk amount of power generation at lower voltage levels, like lower voltage in the sense around 11 kV, 20 kV, 22 kV, like that. And the power generation will be in terms of hundreds of megawatts. Okay, so that much amount of power cannot be transmitted at that low voltage levels to the customers. Again, the customers will have voltage levels around 230 volts single phase, or 440 volts, 415 volts three phase, and we will have around 11 kV, 22 kV, 33 kV, distribution system, secondary distribution system. Primary distribution will be around 66 kV. Okay, sometimes even 132 kV also will be considered. Okay, so now the generation will be at one location, and transmission means the distribution, the customers will be at faraway locations. Okay, so the low voltage power generation will be stepped up to higher by using step up, and to basically to reduce the transmission losses, and the transmission voltage levels will be in the range of 220 kV, 400 kV, 765 kV. Even nowadays, people they are trying at certain locations like 1100 kV and 1200 kV. The main purpose of this one is to reduce the losses. Okay, so transmission losses. So the transmission system plays an important role in transmitting this bulk amount of power from generating stations to the customer side. Okay, but the way the generation is increasing and the way the loads are increasing, they are almost like matching. Okay, so the exponential increase in the exponential growth in the load side are automatic means somehow they are able to cater by using the installed generation capacity. But the way these two things, generation and distribution, they are expanding, similar way the transmission network is not expanding. Because of this one, most of the times the transmission network operate very close to their design limits. So this is one of the in transmitting bulk amount of power. Because of this one, most of the time the transmission network operates very close to the design limits, which we will call it as a quasi steady state condition. Okay, so here when we are talking about the quasi steady state condition, okay, so we also need to understand where the system is. Okay, at what we also need to understand what is the importance of these renewable energy sources. Okay, why they have to be connected at distribution side. So before going to that one, let us have a state transition diagram of the power system. So we need to understand, okay, what are the different states of the power system states, and why we need to operate the power system either in normal state or any other state. These things needs to be understand before going to the understanding the importance of the present work. Okay, so now there are certain constraints. Okay, so one is load constraints or equality constraints, which we will generally express in terms of power balance. Okay, so whatever the load plus losses are there, that needs to be met from the generation. Okay, so generation equal to load plus losses. This is a equality constraint which needs to be maintained. Okay, so if you want to have a successful operation of the power system. Okay, so there are other constraints like inequality constraints. Generally we'll call these things as a operating constraints. So where, okay, certain limits like voltage limits, which a bus voltage should be well within the limits like plus or minus 10% of the rated value, and line loadings. Okay, all the line power, whatever the power transfer through these lines should be less than its maximum thermal limit. Okay, also there are certain other limits like angle limits. All those things will be there depending on the type of line that we are considering, whether it is a short line, medium line and long line. Depending on the type of line that we are considering, the line loading limits, okay, so can be expressed in terms of megawatts or expressed in terms of the angle between both the ends, or like that. Okay, so and generator limits. Okay, each generator has its own limits like maximum MVA rating and maximum real power generation, maximum reactive power generation or absorption. All those things has to take into consideration. So essentially these constraints can be expressed in terms of two things. One is equality constraint and inequality constraints. Okay, we say that a power system is under normal state or secure state when all the loads are being supplied. Means both the load as well as the operating constraints are being met. Okay, so then we will call this one as a normal state, secure state. Okay, but the system will not be there in the normal state continuously. Okay, so because of the minute to minute changes in the system, or minute to minute changes in the loads, or minute to minute changes in the generation, all those things will make the system to move from the normal state or secure state to insecure state or alert state. Okay, so in this state also, the same equality and inequality constraints are being met, but the system gets weakened and may not withstand for the contingency. Then how do you differentiate the normal state and the alert state? Means in case of normal state, if there is any contingency occurs, still the system continues to operate. But in case of alert state, it may not withstand for any contingency or any line outage or a generator outage. Okay, so such type of things may lead to change the state of the system from normal state to the alert state. Okay, and once, because of the minute to minute change, if the system reaches to alert state, we need to have some type of preventive controls. Okay, means here we need to have continuous monitoring of the system, and then we have to plan some type of preventive controls like rescheduling or addition of some additional generators or something needs to be done such that again the system has to bring it back to the normal state as much as possible. Otherwise, the system may go into the emergency state 1. Okay, so in emergency state 1, the operating constraints violated, but load constraints are still satisfied. In the sense, the load plus losses equal to generation. Okay, that constraints are still satisfied, but because of the transition, okay, so that transition may be because of some contingency or some outage. Okay, so the operating constraints like some of the bus voltages may be violated, or some of the lines they get overloaded, or some of the generators they are operating just above their limits. In this state, the system will be there for a reasonable amount of time, and here we have to address certain actions. Otherwise, the system may go into emergency stage 2. And the transition, it need not be from normal alert state to emergency state 1. Okay, it can directly come from normal state to emergency state 1 if you don't have sufficient reserve, or if you don't have sufficient margins, and if the disturbance is very severe, and also if the load side, if there are huge amount of load sudden change occurs, like sudden load on or off, if it occurs, in that time also the system will change from normal state to the emergency state 1. And because of some short circuit, some voltage fault on a very important line, if it happens, okay, so then the system may reach from normal state to the emergency state 1. Okay, so at this stage we need to have some dynamic controls to bring the system back to the alert state, because coming from emergency state 1 to normal state will be difficult, and we need to use some type of dynamic control to bring the system from emergency state 1 to alert state. Then again we can have some type of control to bring it back to the normal state. Okay, then we will have sufficient time, but at this moment we have very limited amount of control, okay, to bring it back to the alert state. Okay, if these type of controls, if they fail, okay, then it may go into the emergency state 2, where both the operating as well as the load constraints are being violated, and in this state it may not stand for long amount of time. Okay, so very short period of time it will wait, it will be there, and this may lead to a restorative state. Okay, so when the reason why we don't want to go for restorative state, where in restorative state still the operating constraints are satisfied but load constraints are violated, the reason is that once it goes into restorative state, some of the generators may have unsynchronized, and again bring it back to the normal operation, or to bring the generators to be in synchronize. To synchronize the huge generators, it will take a few hours time. Okay, so to avoid those things, okay, so in the beginning itself, okay, we have to identify at which state it is there. Okay, so and it has to operate at least in alert state, and with proper control we have to bring it back to the normal state. Okay, so continuously we have to monitor the system, and we have to identify where the system is there, and we have to use some type of control actions, and try to operate the system in the very close to the normal state. So the reason behind discussing about this power system state transition is that, okay, so if you see, this is a network, okay, where the basic structure of the power system can be represented in this different way, where you have generators, okay, they have connected to the generators as well as distribution network. It has connected to a utility grid, and at the distribution side, slowly the loads are being changed. Okay, loads are changing, and which is connected to utility grid. So the utility grid expansion is not happening. Okay, so some of the issues with the system can be expressed in terms of quasi steady state operation of the transmission system, which can by using state transition diagram, we can say that what is the problem with the quasi steady state operation of the transmission system. So these are some of the issues with the current scenario of the current power system. Okay, so like these are some of the issues like increasing energy needs and peak load shortage. Okay, peak load shortage. Suddenly the load comes. Okay, so there is a shortage of the peak load. Okay, even though we have sufficient generation, but this may, because of the peak load, the transmission network doesn't have sufficient reserves. Okay, reserve in the sense, okay, sufficient margins are not there. Okay, the system becomes weakened. Okay, so it may not cater the peak load. Okay, so this is one of the issue. Even though we have generation, but the transmission bottleneck is creating this issue. Okay, so and another thing is like fossil fuel depletions. This is one of the issue, non-technical issue, and power quality and reliability issues. Okay, so the power quality, apart from the harmonic distortion, okay, so the power quality also defined in terms of the voltage sags, well, all those things, and reliability issues. So these are some of the issues, and rural electrification, okay, because the rural areas which are far away from the far away, and the last mile electrification is sometimes quite difficult. So under those conditions, providing a rural electrification is one of the issue. So how to meet the growing demand for the electricity? Okay, so one thing is there, like these renewable energy sources comes into picture. Okay, why not we have the why not we have advantage of the renewable energy sources which will feed the loads that are connected to the distribution network. So one way to connect these renewable energy sources is like connecting to the utility grid. Okay, so here in this picture, if you see the small scale PVs, they have connected to the utility grid. Okay, again, so this may not serve the purpose of relieving the bottleneck in the transmission network. So another way to connect is like connecting the renewable energy sources to the distribution network itself. So in this case, we are not making use of the transmission network. So whatever the local requirement is there, that is being fed from the renewable energy sources that are connected to the same distribution network. So this works on the principle of local power generation to the local loads philosophy. Okay, so here this concept of microgrids comes into picture. Okay, so the local power generation, local power loads are being fed from the local power generation by using like distributed energy sources or renewable energy sources. Okay, so this is one advantage that we are getting from the renewable energy sources in case of Indian scenario. So in this slide, okay, so this is the mix of tropical dry and wet climate area. This is again the profile, the solar irradiation profile as well as the wind velocity profile of one part of the Hyderabad. Okay, so one IT company's profile. Okay, so if you see this profile, okay, so there is an average solar radiation of around 5.34 kilowatt hour per meter square. Okay, so with a maximum radiation of more than 6 kilowatt per meter square. Okay, so if you see the solar radiation profile over the period of 12 months, during the June, July, August, September, we have less solar radiations. But when it comes to the wind velocity profile, okay, so which is having an average wind velocity of around 4.1 meters per second, and during the June, July, August, September time where the solar radiation is less, during that time the wind velocity is more. Okay, so from these two figures we can see that, okay, so whenever there is a wind velocity less, if it is there during that time, solar radiations are higher, and whenever solar radiations are lesser, during that time the wind velocity is higher. Okay, so this makes, like on an average, if you see the total energy available, it is almost constant throughout the year. Okay, so this is one of the advantage that we can take, okay, by using the solar as well as the wind power generation. Okay, so apart from this ecological aspects, opportunities, the government also is providing some type of initiatives. Okay, so the Electricity Act 2003 and National Electricity Policy, okay, and diesel abatement scheme, solar energy scheme, Rajiv Gandhi Vidyadhikarana, remote village electrification. And this Electricity Act, if you see, okay, it has given a trust to the distributed generation, particularly in the context of rural electrification. So as per this act, what it has to be done is like the rural energy needs to be rural energy needs, whatever the needs of the rural energy are there, that has to be catered by the conventional as well as the renewable energy source based microgrids. Okay, so this act says the rural electrification needs has to be met from conventional as well as the renewable energy sources. Okay, so the second one is the National Electricity Policy 2005. Okay, so this is again an extension to the Electricity Act. Okay, so as per this policy, the where these utility grid extension is not possible, there the electrification system has to be like a standalone or islanded mode of operation of the renewable energy sources and distributed energy sources facilities has to be provided. And in case of the diesel abatement scheme, okay, so the diesel abatement scheme tries to reduce the usage of the diesel. For this one, the government is also providing some subsidies in the installation costs. Okay, in case of non-profit making applications, the government it is giving around 40% of the total installation cost. When it comes to the profit making institutions, it is giving around 30% of the installation cost. Okay, again same solar energy scheme also. So useful for the PV generation plants. Okay, the financial subsidy rules have been given for general category as well as special category. Okay, so based on the special category, okay, the subsidies will go up to 60%. In case of general category, okay, it will be around 30% of the subsidy on the total cost. Okay, so like that, there are some energy schemes also they have provided to increase the usage of the renewable energy based power support. Okay, energy generation, and also for the rural electrification. Okay, so apart from these things, these Rajiv Gandhi Gramin Vidyadhikarana Yojana and remote village electrification also. So here also they are providing almost like up to 90% of the subsidy for the rural electrification projects. So to have a distributed generation plants at the villages side. Okay, so from all these things, okay, apart from these things, the government also mandating through MNRE, okay, to mandate the minimum renewable energy content on the commercial buildings, okay, universities, industries, residential complexes, and government buildings. Okay, so in all these things, so it is mandating to have minimum renewable energy content. So thus providing microgrid development in India. Okay, so these are some of the things. Okay, so this is the chart. Okay, this is the statistics of the All India Power installed statistics as on 30th April 2020. So in this picture, if you see, we have the power in installed capacity of the various source of power generation. Okay, anyhow, the coal is the highest share it takes. And in the this picture, okay, if you see the percentage wise, if you see the coal is taking around 55%, and then the second portion comes to the renewable energy sources. Okay, so now, so the renewable energy sources, previously it was around 1%, 2% like that it used to be there, but now the content from the renewable energy sources have been increased drastically. Okay, the second place used to be for hydro, but now the renewable energy sources have taken the major share as compared to the hydro. Okay, and if you see, this is the installed capacity growth over the period of 2 decades. Okay, from 2000 to 2020, the growth is exponential. Okay, so like it started in 1999, 2000, it is around 2.9, around 3 gigawatt. Now it is around 87 gigawatt of renewable energy content is there. And the percentage wise also, if you see from 1% to almost like 24% of the overall installed capacity is there for the renewable energy sources. Okay. Now, the growth, the way the renewable energy generation is increasing. Okay, so apart from this one, it also having a technical challenges. Okay, so that needs to be addressed for the fruitful integration of the renewable energy sources. Okay, so if there is any ineffective addressing of these factors will degrade the performance of the microgrid, such as power quality, reliability, stability, protection. These are all some of the things which needs to be addressed, because whenever these renewable energy sources based power generation, when it has to be integrated to grid, so definitely it depends on the power conversion devices like inverters in general, and the intermediate nature of the renewable energy source also plays an important role, and the controls. Okay, because when these renewable energy sources they are connected to grid, the grid imposes some requirements like the renewable energy sources, when they are integrated to grid, they have to follow some grid codes. Okay, otherwise there will not be a fruitful integration of the renewable energy sources. They have to follow some grid codes. Okay, so again for that one we have to depending on the controllers which are effective and which will continuously follow the grid, because when the renewable energy sources they are connected to grid, they have to be continuously in synchronized mode. For that one again, the renewable energy sources have to continuously monitor the grid. They have to change their controller settings, or their output from the inverters has to continuously in sync with the grid PCC. Okay, so some of the technical challenges like power quality and reliability. Okay, the power quality and reliability, so generally we will express, okay, power quality we will express like we always want to have a pure sinusoidal type of voltage, and there should not be any deviations, disturbances in the current or voltage or frequency. Okay, so if there is any huge change in the current or voltage or frequency, this will lead to the failure of the loads. Okay, so and also the microgrid consists of some unbalanced non-linear loads, different variety of loads will be there, which also cause some type of power quantities. Okay, so and whenever these renewable energy sources have to integrate to grid, they generally use some type of power trunks based voltage source inverter. Okay, so and these itself act as a source of harmonic generation, and whenever there is a disturbance occurs in the system, okay, the power trunks based system has to island from the grid, and it has to meet the local loads. Okay, so the type of control also it should be in a way that whenever it is islanded from the grid, okay, whenever it is operating in islanded mode, the control automatically detect that island had happened, and our island has to be happen, and it has to meet the local load. Okay, so thus the power trunks based voltage source inverter topology has to be selected in such a way that it can operate both in islanded mode of operation or grid connected mode of operation, and also at the same time it should provide high quality of power at minimum interruptions and minimum device cost. Okay, so this is one of the technical challenges that present in case of the renewable energy integration to the grid. Okay, another thing is like reliability. So there are two ways we can discuss about the reliability. Okay, one is like system reliability. So system reliability when it comes, okay, whenever there is because of this is mainly affected by the power management. Okay, it's just because whenever there is a change in the renewable energy source output, or because of the frequent load changes or faults. Okay, so the output whenever it changes, okay, there should be some mechanism by which the power balance has to be met. Okay, this will lead to the system reliability aspects, and the safety of various sensitive microgrid loads has to be taken into consideration whenever there is a undesirable sudden changes in the voltage or frequency occurs. Okay, so the technical challenge one needs to be addressed in case of reliability is this is the system reliability, and another one is the network reliability. So because various various devices will be there, these things generally it will be communicated through some network. Okay, so the network reliability is also majorly affected by the communication between the different control equipment as well as the measuring equipment as well as the monitoring devices. Okay, so again, this power quality and reliability, they also posing different challenges in the integration. Okay, another one is like frequency stability and voltage stability. And when it comes to the frequency stability and voltage stability, frequency stability in general will be the effect of there is a difference in the load plus losses and generation. Okay, so whenever there is a always the system has to maintain the power balance. Okay, whenever there is a difference comes, okay, it will directly affect the frequency. And again, when it comes to the voltage stability, the voltage requirement, the reactive power requirements has to be met from the generation. Okay, whenever there is an imbalance, that will lead to the voltage instability. Okay, so in case of regular power systems, we have huge like the generators are being connected by the prime movers. Okay, so whenever there is a disturbance occurs because of the inertia, the angle will be controlled. Okay, so that way the frequency stability somehow it can be managed. Okay, again, because of the fast acting automatic voltage regulators, okay, excitation control, the voltage support also is possible. But when it comes to the power electronics based inverters, the inertia aspects are missing. Okay, so because it doesn't have any rotating part. Okay, so it leads to the frequency instability issues. Okay, and grid synchronization monitoring. Whenever a renewable energy source based power electronics based inverter it is connected to grid, continuously it monitors the PCC voltage. Okay, because when if you want to have a proper synchronization, again it has to look for the voltage magnitude, phase angle, phase sequence. So these are all the things has to be continuously monitored, and it has to sync with the PCC. Okay, so there should be certain mechanisms. Okay, so that will continuously monitor and detect the changes in the PCC side, and as per that the control circuit should be a control circuit should be in such a way that, okay, so it continuously changes its control to match the PCC requirement. Okay, and there are challenges in the system protection due to bidirectional power flow. If you see in the initial slide, we have seen that the power generation to the distribution, everything is like one way. Okay, generation to the customers. Okay, one way direction. Okay, but when it comes to the renewable energy sources, okay, if you are representing in a single line diagram, because of the renewable energy sources, there is a bidirectional flow. And because of this one, the line flows also will change. Following a fault, the contribution from the grid may change depending on the fault condition. Okay, with respect to that, the protection aspects also needs to be addressed. Okay, and other challenges like power balance due to renewable energy uncertainty, like suddenly the changes in the irradiation or wind velocity, the drop in the power suddenly it changes. Okay, so then we need to address the power balance at each and every instant of time. So this also poses some challenges on challenges. Okay, so in the fruitful operation of the microgrid. Okay, so apart from that one, some system controls again. The control also it plays an important role, and economic dispatch. Okay, so whenever we have these renewable energy sources, how better we can make use of these renewable energy sources for economic operation of the overall system. Okay, so these are all that some of the challenges one needs to address for the fruitful integration of the renewable energy sources to the grid. Okay, so out of these things, okay, so some important concerns that are raised by the intermediate nature of the renewable energy sources, and another one is the switching devices based power trans converters, and another one is the less grid support from the renewable energy sources. Okay, so somehow the intermittent nature of the renewable energy sources can be controlled up to certain extent by using some type of storage system. Okay, so with the storage system and proper control of the renewable energy sources, okay, we can up to some extent we can we can attempt the intermediate nature of the renewable energy sources. But when it comes to the switching devices based power transfer converters, okay, switching devices based power transfer converters, they themselves generate some harmonics. Okay, again, with the proper architecture like multi-level inverters, all those things, by using those things, the harmonic pollution can be reduced up to certain extent. But when it comes to the less grid support during the system disturbances, so this again, it is one of the important challenge that we need to address. Okay, so what happens if there is any disturbance occurs? The voltage at the PCC may change drastically. So whenever such huge change in the voltage, there should be a reactive or support has to be provided from the integration side. Okay, so instead of providing the support, these power transfer based renewable energy sources, they try to safeguard themselves, they immediately isolate. Okay, so because of this isolation, they further worsen the condition. Okay, so they provide very lesser grid support during the disturbances. Fine, am I going very fast?
No, sir.
It is fine, right? You are able to follow me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So sometimes if you make some sound, then I say what happens in the class also, I will be continuously speaking, and because of some network issue, so I was talking, but the students, they have disconnected. So that's why in between try to make some sound such that I come to know that you are following. Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So now for the fruitful renewable energy source integration, okay, one has to adhere to the some of the international guidelines, such as some standards. Okay, IEEE 141. Okay, so this tells about the practice for power distribution for industrial plants. Okay, so and there are IEEE 1547. So when you are interconnecting the distributed energy sources to the electrical power system, so what are the guidelines that needs to be followed? Okay, so again, coming to the harmonic injection limits, okay, IEEE 519. Okay, and also from the Indian side, as the Central Electricity Authority, so also giving some guidelines, okay, about the fruitful integration of the renewable energy sources. Okay, so how means what are the guidelines, or what are the limits that needs to be followed is like, if you see the on the 3-column table, okay, the first column represents the performance index, and the second column is the standard limit that needs to be followed, and supporting standard name. Okay, so we have the waveform shape. Okay, we just wanted to have the we don't want to have any deviation from the sinusoidal wave. Okay, so and the rate of change of voltage, okay, so it should be plus or minus 3 volts per second. So and the voltage deviation is limited to plus or minus 10%. Okay, and the positive sequence voltage should be very close to 1, and there should not be any negative sequence voltage. And if there is any imbalance, okay, the voltage imbalance should be less than 3%. The frequency deviations, okay, the over voltage frequency or under voltage frequency, okay, it should be within plus or minus 2%. And the rate of change of frequency is also limited. Okay, it cannot be more than plus or minus 1 hertz per second. And over voltage, because of some switching, because it should not be more than 10%, and voltage sag should not be less than 40%. Okay, it should be within the limits, and the spikes, the positive spike or negative spike, should be limited to 33% of the rated value. Okay, and stability restoration time also has some limits. Okay, that we will see so when the results are being explained. Okay, so how we will integrate the renewable energy sources? Okay, so if you see the different types of renewable energy sources, okay, so we generally say that the PV and wind, okay, so these are some of the renewable energy sources. Okay, so apart from these things, the fuel cell, okay, so this can also be considered as a renewable energy source. And the battery, okay, so the battery is not a renewable energy source, but we wanted to use the battery for take care about the intermediate nature of the renewable energy sources. To have a proper control on the renewable energy sources, generally the storage element is also comes into picture. Okay, so now the sources are like AC sources, like wind farms in general, like AC sources, and rest of the things like battery or PV or fuel cells, they all comes under DC sources. Okay, so sometimes we have wind farms which are generating DC type of thing. Okay, so and the load requirement is like we have a three-phase AC loads. Okay, it can be inductive type or arc furnace type. Okay, non-linear type of load. Apart from this loading, okay, so we also wants to export the power to the utility grid. Okay, so essentially we wanted to export the input power to the output power. Okay, so we need to have some type of architecture. Okay, so it can be like a AC bus type of architecture, or it can be a DC bus type of architecture, or it can be a hybrid type of architecture. So here we have considered like DC to AC conversion is required. Okay, so we need to have a conversion from DC to AC. Okay, so how we can have the DC to AC conversion? Can anybody name how we can have the DC to AC conversion? Inverter. Okay, so any other way we can do it? So when inverters were not were not there, okay, so what is the way we used to do the DC to AC conversion? Any idea? Is it the only way that we have to use a inverter? There is no other way? Okay. So in general, okay, so I think almost most of you have handled the machines lab. Okay, so we have different types of coupled machines. Okay, so one of the thing can be used. Okay, so there are electrical machines based energy conversion. Okay, so we can use a DC motor coupled synchronous generator. Okay, where the renewable energy power. Okay, so on an average it can be considered as DC, and the renewable energy will be connected to a DC motor. Okay, which in turn will drive the synchronous generator. So again, synchronous generator operation is quite familiarized. Okay, so it can connect it to the utility grid. It can be synchronized with the utility grid, and it can be used to meet the building loads. Okay, so in literature, this type of conversion we will call it as a rotary inverter. Okay, so because it is a rotating machines are being employed. Okay, it is like a rotary based inverter. Okay, so but the problem here is that efficiency. Okay, so we have a rotating parts. Okay, so the efficiency is limited. Okay, and as long as the size of the amount of power that needs to be converted is less, these type of machines is fine. Okay, the space requirements are possible, but when it comes to the huge amount of renewable energy sources, okay, employing a DC motor coupled synchronous generator is not a advisable thing. And deployment cost for low to medium range load centers also it is having a limitation. Okay, so this is one of the problem with the rotary based converters, but the rotary based converters is having some advantages that we will see in the next slide. The another one is like power trans based conversion. This is a static inverter we will call. Okay, whatever the inverter we are saying, this is a static because there are no rotating parts. Everything is based on the switching of the power trans based switches. Okay, so in general, the inverters will have when it is being integrated to grid, or if it has to operate in parallel operation. So in general, loop based voltage and current control control schemes will be used in the inverter. Okay, so the use of the power trans converters, okay, because of the modular and efficient installations. Okay, so the efficiency of these converters are higher. Okay, so it will be more than 95%, 96%. Okay, but the problem is the power quality and inertia. Okay, so in case of rotary based converters, because of the rotating parts, they have some kinetic energy being stored in their masses. Okay? But in case of inverters, this inertia is one of the problem. Okay, any problem occurs on the AC side, so immediately this inverter tries to safeguard itself and it tries to isolate from the utility grid. Okay, so this in turn will worsen the situation of the utility grid. Okay, and the power quality. Okay, so the power quality, like one is a harmonic injection because of the switching operation of the inverter. The output power also being polluted with the harmonics. Okay. So this is the typical power conversion generally happens. Okay, if you see the rotary based inverter along with its control thing. Okay, so on the synchronous generator side we have the agitation control, and on the DC motor side we have the speed control. Okay, and this is the typical control logic generally employed when the rotary based converters are being integrated to grid. And when it comes to the static inverter, okay, so we have the droop controller and we have the voltage controller, we have the current controller. The droop controller will have the power calculations, and with respect to some reference P and reference Q, it will generate the V reference, and this V reference is being used in the voltage controller, and it will generate the ID reference and IQ reference. And these things is given as input to the current controller, which in turn will generate the reference signal for the PWM generator. Okay, so the V reference, okay, so will be generated based on the VD reference and VQ reference that has been generated in the current control. Okay, this is a typical control logic. Okay, typical controller that will be used in the power harness based inverters, three-phase inverters. Okay. Yeah. Now the comparison between the static and rotary inverters, if you see, okay, so this can be compared for performance indices wise and operating efficiency wise and general features wise. If you see the performance indices wise, if you see the power quality, okay, so if you see the rotary based converter, the power quality, because it is a rotating machine, the output waveform is pure sinusoidal. Okay, so this is very good in case of DC motor coupled synchronous generator. And the inertia, because of the rotating machines, the inertia is also very good, and the stability again because of the inertia, this is good. And resiliency, once we have the power quality and inertia, definitely the resilience is also good. And frequency response and voltage response, they are better because of the governor control as well as the excitation control. But when it comes to the power transfer based converter, these performance indices are lower, okay, as compared to the rotary based converters. And when it comes to the operational efficiency point of view, if you see the life period of the power transfer based converters are higher as compared to the DC motor based DC motor synchronous generator based converters. Okay, so the power conversion efficiency is also higher in case of static inverters. The system maintenance is lower, and speed of response is higher in case of power transfer based converters. But when it comes to the rotor based inverters, they are on the lesser side. Okay, so in this table, okay, so the green ones are the benefits that we will get because of the different type of conversion. And general features point of view also, if you see the cost wise, any question?
So please continue, sir.
So the implementation cost and space requirements are a little bit lesser. Okay, suppose if you see 5 kilowatt inverter and 10 kilowatt inverter, the size wise not much difference. But when it comes to the rotor based inverters, there is a huge change from 5 kilowatt to 10 kilowatt machines. Okay, so and filtering circuit is on the negative side for the static converters, but rotary side converters you don't require any filter because you will get the pure sinusoidal output on the output side. Okay, and design complexity and all, and unit size also, if you see it is very less. And the power trans based inverter, it is having its own advantages, and rotary based converter, it is having its own advantages. Okay, but So why till now we are having, because when we are talking about the performance indices, when the renewable energy sources, when they are connected to grid, the performance indices plays an important role. Okay, so why not we improve? Because the DC motor synchronous generator based machines, okay, so they have better performance indices. Why not we have the same features in the renewable energy based inverters? Okay, so that is one of the intent to have the proposing some method, okay, which I will discuss in the next slide. Okay, so needs, okay, we need to have a proper DC to AC conversion is required. Okay, so again, the power converter along with its control should have the features such that where the performance of the overall microgrid can be improved. Okay, so we need to have the proper architecture, we need to have the proper converter, we need to have the proper controller. These things are playing a major role. The selection of these architecture, converter, controller plays a major role in improving the performance of the microgrid. Okay, so with respect to that one, okay, so why we have the advantages from the static inverter, we have the advantage from the rotary based inverter. Why not we have both the advantages in a single machine? Keeping that one in mind, we proposed a new methodology, new concept. Okay, so we where the electrical machines like rotary rotating machines concept, we wanted to put it in the closed loop path of the inverter control. Okay, so so in this inverter, in the second one, so are you able to see my mouse? So you are able to see mouse pointer, are you able to see?
Yes sir, cursor
You are able to see, right? Cursor you are able to see. Okay, so the conventional thing will have a VI based, okay, droop voltage current control based closed loop. Okay, and in place of this one, why not we have the operation, okay, rotary machines based operation? If you have it, okay, so effectively we will have the similar type of characteristics that we are getting with the rotary based machines. Okay, so what are the performance that we are getting from the rotary based machines? Okay, similar type of performance we will get it when you are using this type of control thing in the closed loop of the static inverter. Okay, so this was there in our mind to propose a new method. Okay, so this is the closed loop virtual DC motor coupled synchronous generator based control scheme. Okay, generally we will call it as a CLV DCMSG. Okay, so this is the control scheme. Okay, so on the left side, okay, so here we have the renewable, different types of renewable energy sources along with the storage thing battery. Each one is having their own local converters. Okay, so because the voltage output of each power will be different. Okay, so these things are connected to a common DC bus, okay, by using its local controllers. So now we have a DC bus available at 600 volts, okay, and it needs to be connected to a 11 kV grid. So through some a PCC, okay, so we are using a 440 volts by 11 kV transformer. We have some loads here. Okay, so and also there are some filters, there are some measurements, VABC measurements are there. Okay, so now, so a three-phase multi-level inverter, 5-level diode clamped multi-level inverter has been employed, and it uses the sine triangle PWM technique, okay, to trigger the switches of the three-phase inverter. So because we are using a multi-level inverter, okay, so we are having some 4 carrier signals. Each one is rated for 1 kHz. Okay, typically 1 kHz or 2 kHz can be employed here, and the amplitude of the each carrier signal is around 2.5 unit. Okay, and the modulation signal is rated for 50 Hz and having an amplitude of 4 times of the carrier signal magnitude. Okay, and this entire thing, it operates in the closed loop. Okay, so in this closed loop we are having the DC motor model and the synchronous generator model, which are a virtual generators. Okay, so they are all virtual generators, virtual motor and virtual generator set. They are not the real motors, they are all the virtual motor. The DC motor is represented by its modeling its equations, and the generator and exciter also is represented by its governing equations. Okay, So here the voltage measurements from the PCC side has been taken as the input, and also from the DC bus side, okay, we have the references from the DC bus side. Okay, so the control thing I will try to explain from this modeling part. Okay, so we have different equations representing the equivalent circuit of the DC shunt motor along with its cascaded PI based closed loop control system. Okay, so here we have two controllers. Okay, so there are some armature equation is there is a field equation is there is a torque equation is there. So the requirement of the DC motor equations are to control the frequency. Okay, so whenever there is a change in the system frequency here, okay, the system frequency is continuously monitored here, because sometimes it will be 50 Hz, sometimes it will be 49.9, 49.95, 50.2, 50.0 to 50.05, some like that. The frequency will be varying. Okay, so the frequency, okay, which in turns will be measured from the generator's motors, the generator speed. Okay, so here the VABC, okay, from this one, okay, so because this rotor speed is expressed in terms of the output frequency of the voltages. Okay, so whenever there is a change in the motor speed from the generator speed, because this generator speed is a reference, okay, because it is connected to the grid. Okay, so it gives the reference. Okay, so whenever this motor speed is away from the generator speed, then the PI controller will generate a IEA reference. Okay, so this IEA reference, which in turn will be passed through the PI controller 2, which will give a reference, like which will try to adjust the IEA current, which in turn control the electromagnetic torque of the motor. Okay, so then whenever there is a change in the grid side frequency, if this motor speed is away from the grid frequency requirement, then the motor will try to control the speed such that the generator will change its output to meet the AC side grid frequency requirement. So this in turn, like will try to control the frequency of the inverter. Okay, so yeah, so this is the synchronous machine model. Okay, so here we are using the exciter. Whenever there is a voltage change happens at the grid side, okay, the exciter change its output in such a way that it always be in sync with the PCC. So this is the detailed signal routing. Okay, so from this controller we can see that whenever there is any changes in the frequency or any changes in the voltage, okay, they will be controlled by this virtual DC motor synchronous generator based control scheme. The DC motor provides the controlled mechanical torque, which in turn controls the frequency of the output I reference. Okay, the exciter model tries to control the field voltage to the generator, which in turn will change the magnitude of the reference signal. Okay, so thus this frequency and voltage will be regulated whenever there is any uncertainties, thereby try to change the reference wave I reference ABC, which is being used by the PWM generator to change its PWM signals to the inverter switches. Okay, so this in turn will try to control the firing pulses of the inverter and try to inject the inertia into the system. Okay, so this is the different parameters that have been used, okay, for the simulation as well as simulation purpose. Okay, so we have the dynamic model of the so we have the dynamic model of the DC shunt motor as well as the synchronous generator model. Okay, so some of the parameters that have been used. So in the simulation for the virtual DC motor coupled synchronous generator has been provided here, and also the experimental setup also has been carried out in the laboratory. So these are the specifications of the different systems that have been used. Okay, PV is around we have 5 kilowatt PV is there. Okay, so each one is having around 250 watt. Okay, and for controlling the pulses, okay, DSpace has been used, and inverter, okay, semicron based inverters along with the snubber circuits, okay, gate driver circuit, deadband circuit. These are all the things has been developed and used to control the inverter. Okay, so in this particular case we see only islanded mode of operation, grid connected mode of operation as during that time, but now we have tried it. Okay, and this is the experimental setup. Okay, that has been done in the laboratory. Okay, so previously we had tried with a DSpace controller board. Okay, later we have used a National Instruments based PCI controller. Okay, so because it is having as compared to DSpace 1104, this NAPCI 6229 is having some advantage of we can go for a little bit higher sampling frequency. Okay, so that is the advantage of this NA based PCI card, and rest of the things like this inverter along with this IGBT circuit. Okay, everything we have purchased, and the controller we are doing from the NIPCI card along with gate driver circuit. Okay, and also we have some R load and L load. Okay, so, and we have some filters. Okay, so the LC filters are being employed. Okay, yeah, and we have some the current control, current monitoring. Okay, and there are some Hall effect sensors have been employed for the control purpose. So these are some of the test cases that have been tried. Okay, so here the testing procedure, if you see, for like for indices like THD, voltage imbalance, over voltage, under voltage, and frequency deviations, there is some standard test procedures have been mentioned in the different standards. Okay, so with respect to those standards, following those guidelines, these variations have been done. Okay, for THD, so a dynamic three-phase load variation of 0 to 30 kilowatt and 0 to 20 kVAr has been changed. Okay, and during that time the THD, how it is being changed, have been seen, and voltage imbalance also, some large reactive unbalanced load, large reactive load unbalance created on phase A. How it will have the voltage imbalance. Okay, and also under voltage and over voltages, like switching on and switching off of the capacitor and switching on and switching off of the inductor over different period of time. Okay, how it is changing the over voltage and under voltage have been tested, and frequency deviations. Okay, the frequency deviations have been done by creating an SLJ fault in the simulation, but when it comes to the experimental analysis, the SLJ faults have not been created. Okay, so rest of the things like voltage imbalance, THDs, and signal steps have been tested during the experimental setup. So there are some 7 test cases have been considered, 4 for simulation and 3 for experimental setup. Okay, so this is the simulation results, and we have compared with the conventional diode clamper multi-level inverter. Okay, where the first result like diode clamper multi-level inverter, so it will have it employs the conventional cascaded droop voltage and current based controller. This is the conventional controller. So the second one is like CLV DCMSD. Okay, this is the proposed method. Okay, so in case of injecting the load variations like from 0 kW 0 kVAr to 30 kW 20 kVAr, when there is a change in this 3-phase load, how these voltage variations have been there and how the THD been noted. Okay, so in case of conventional power transfer based converter, okay, so we have around 3.23%. Okay, in case of proposed method, it is around 2.54. Okay, so these results have been taken from the MATLAB. Okay, this is the second case where injection of the reactive power load, okay, on one of the phase. Okay, so because of this one, the voltage imbalance has been calculated. Okay, so voltage imbalance calculated by using the negative sequence to the negative sequence by positive sequence values if you plot it. Okay, so here you can see like at 0.03. Okay, so there is instant load unbalance has been created. Okay, and at around 0.08, okay, it has been connected to grid. Okay, so the red dotted color thing, if you see, this is the proposed method, and these two are the one is power trans based method and another one is a rotor based. Okay, the blue color one is the static inverter with conventional controls thing, and here only red color is the rotor based inverter. This red color one is the okay. So the voltage imbalance is considerably less as compared to the conventional static as well as rotor based inverter. So this we can depict from this picture. Okay. And coming to the case 3, okay, switching on a large capacitive load, and switching on and off of the capacitive as well as the inductive type of loads. So if you see this picture, the red one is the proposed method. Okay, so it tries to be very close to the ideal. Okay, so the one, okay, always we wanted to have the microgrid voltage very close to 1. Okay, so now if the red one, it tries to be in close to the ideal one, whereas the other one little bit deviate away from this one. Okay, so even if you see here also, when the large inductive load is on, it is close to the close in the sense as compared to the other two things, it tries to match with the ideal case. Okay, so this is the observation we can make it from this picture. And coming to the frequency response, okay, the frequency response, if you see, the rotor based converters definitely they have better performance. Okay, and when it comes to the blue one, okay, which is a conventional diode clamped multi-level inverter, the frequency deviations are higher, whereas the green one, it will be very close to the rotor based converter. Okay, so the oscillations are also very much close to the 50 hertz frequency. Okay, so from this picture also we can say that, okay, so it tries to mimic the behavior of the DC motor coupled synchronous generator, like a conventional rotary based converter performance. It tries to characteristics, it tries to mimic. So this is the hardware result part. Okay, so in case of conventional thing, you have around 15.8. okay, in case of normal, it is around 7.72. and if you see the picture during the unbalanced case, okay, so even normal also, the output waveform, if you see, the conventional is having quite distorted waveform, but when it comes to the proposed method, okay, the waveforms are for the same filters are being used for the same circuitry. If you use a conventional method as well as the proposed method, okay, so the waveform can be seen from these two things. Okay, so and from this performance analysis, okay, so if you compare the proposed, okay, so this is the proposed one with the conventional diode clamped multi-level inverter and the rotor based inverter. If you compare it, okay, the performance indices are there is no red color here. Okay, so all of them are well within the limits of the different standard limits. Okay, and certain locations, these rotor based inverters, they have violated, and conventional based things, they also violated at various performance indices. Okay, but from this one we can say that the proposed method is superior in all the aspects, okay, as compared to the conventional rotary based as well as the static inverter. Okay, so this is about the explanation of the and comparison of the various ways of conversion. Okay, so when it comes to these this type of virtual synchronous machine based concepts. Okay, so in literature also there are various virtual synchronous generator based concepts have been mentioned. Okay, so not only the proposed one, okay, there are other methods are also have been proposed in the literature. Okay, some of the things are like VSync. Okay, so the VSync is a virtual synchronous machines based microgrid stabilization scheme. So this is one of the so this is one way of employing the virtual synchronous generator scheme. Okay, so this is this is IEPE. So this is VSync project. Okay, this is IEPE. This is another topology generally used in the literature. This is KHI. So this is a Kawasaki Heavy Industries Limited, they also proposed one type of topology. Okay, this is a Issei lab. Okay, so Professor Issei in Osaka University, Japan, he also proposed one type of topology. Okay, so when it comes to the vSync project, okay, so these people, they tried the approach is through the PLL, okay, phase lock loop. Okay, so the phase lock loop uses a differential equations. Okay, so and it tries to mimic the behavior of the synchronous generator. Okay, so it requires the V grid voltage. Okay, grid voltage it is required, and state of charge of the battery information is required. Virtual electromagnetic force information is required. Reference input power is also required. Okay, so this it takes the information of these things. Okay, and it tries to dynamic behavior of the synchronous generator, but it cannot. Okay, because there is no equations related to the synchronous generator are being employed here. Okay, and because here it has been used like a storage. Okay, continuous monitoring of the state of charge of the battery or storage is required, and because the VSG should be able to inject the power or absorb the power. Okay, the normal state of charge of the energy storage in the overall system should be operated very close to around 50%, because so it needs to pump the power, or it needs to absorb the power. Okay, so this becomes a major constraint in the operation of the VSG, and the scheme cannot emulate the dynamic behavior of the synchronous generator, as it depends on the storage system's charge and discharging times, which are not analogous to the electrical machines based machines. Okay, so this is one of the limitations of the vSync project. Okay, vSync thing. Okay, so the another one is the IEPE based VSG topology. This is quite frequently used in the literature for comparison purpose. So for this one also, the this is also uses the synchronous machine model. Okay, so it also measures the V grid voltage or current, and it also it have some references. Okay, and in this particular case also, the synchronous machine model has been used. Okay, with the mechanical torque and excitation voltage are considered as constant. Okay, so because of these constant values have been chosen for the mechanical as well as the excitation inputs. Okay, so this may not cope up with the real-time disturbances. Okay, so this affects the efficiency of the control system, and also it is difficult to maintain the frequency and stability during the disturbances. Under normal operating conditions, this works fine, but when it comes to the any disturbances, okay, so it have its performance is not good. Okay, so the third one is the Kawasaki Heavy Industries based VSG topology. Okay, so here also there is a current control loop, and it also it uses the AVR model and governor generator model. Okay, and it also takes the V grid and I grid information, and there is a Q input and P input, and V reference and omega naught is required. Okay, and here also the reference of the P and Q are required. So because of the references, like P and Q has to be specified, and so these things with they have considered as constant. Okay, so if there is any changes in the load variations or any disturbance occurs, okay, this scheme also fails to operate satisfactorily. So this also may not cope up with the actual powers varied by load changes in real time. Okay, so again this also have the this also, because of this one also, the it impacts the performance of the control loop. Okay, so this is one of the limitation of the KHI, and this is the Issei, Professor Issei lab. They have developed the virtual synchronous. This is based on the swing equation. So in this case also the P input and Q input are required, and it also takes the V grid and I grid information. Okay, and even here also the PA based control is one of the part of the closed loop. Okay, so because of this one, okay, if there is any uncertainties, okay, generally the PA based thing will work in linear region. Now, because they have employed the Q and P as references, okay, again, these things are considered as constant. Okay, if there is any disturbances or any changes in the P and Q, okay, so these things will not operate satisfactorily. Okay, so these are some of the various VHGs that have been available in the literature. Out of these things, we try to compare the proposed method with the quite frequently used VHG topology in literature like IEPE. Okay, so we have simulated various cases. Okay, so like there are some test cases like TC1 to TC4 for simulation studies and TC5 to TC11 for the experimental result. Okay, so like performance indices we have considered like voltage wave shape, voltage deviation, and frequency response, and are various types of disturbances like balanced load variations and non-linear load variations, okay, unbalanced variations, and the base load has been considered like this, and the duration of the simulation has been considered for up to 160 seconds. So, and when it comes to the test load, the load is varied. Okay, so some leading power factor loads and lagging power factor loads, some type of arc furnace loads, and flickering sensation has been created. Okay, so these are all the things have been loads have been considered under various time instances. Okay, so this has been considered for simulation as well as the experimental results as per this details provided in these test load conditions and the duration of these cases. Okay, so during these durations, these loads have been varied. Okay, and the voltage deviation, frequency deviations, and total harmonic discharge have been recorded. Voltage sag and voltage swell, voltage imbalance, these performance indices have been checked during the disturbance case. Okay, so this is the comparison of the IEPE, conventional IEPE, and the proposed method. So if you see at around 125 seconds, the 0.7 power factor leading load has been connected. Okay, so there is a spike in case of IEPE as well as proposed scheme. Okay, so in case of IEPE, the voltage spike is around 1350. Okay, so this is around 415 volts system. Okay, the peak will be around some 630, 640. Okay, so, but now the peak value is around, under normal conditions, will be around 600. 650 like that, but under peak condition switching conditions, instant there is a leading power load is connected, the spike has gone up to 1350, but in case of proposed one, it is limited to 1120. And this is the comparison when there is an electric furnace load has been turned on. Okay, so the first figure is the conventional IEP, and second one is the proposed virtual DC motor coupled synchronous generator. So if you see this wave shape, okay, so there is a sudden change in the voltages in all the three phases. Okay, so there is a huge suddenly the voltage have become zero here. Slowly it took some time to restore to its original values, but when it comes to the proposed method, okay, so though it comes for a very little amount of time, the wave shape has been changed, but immediately it has restored to the original value. Okay. So this is the instant when the electric furnace load is off. Okay, so in the previous case is on, this is the off. When the electric load furnace is off, during that time the voltage wave shape has been distorted considerably in case of IEP based VSG, but in case of proposed one, you will not see any difference. Okay, so and the stability restoration time for the IEP is around 2 cycles. So in case of proposed method, okay, so there are something, but it is negligible. Okay, so you won't see that the electric load furnace is off. Okay, so such type of signature is not there here. And when it comes to the voltage deviations, okay, so voltage deviations as per the testing. Okay, so in this particular case also, so the conventional thing IEP is having around 4.9 voltage deviation, percentage voltage deviation, and here it is very negligible, around 0.5 percentage. Okay, voltage deviation. And this is the frequency deviations. Okay, so electric load furnace is at around 80 seconds the electric load is on, at around 120, around 90, I think. This is electric arc furnace is off. Okay, so these two pictures, if you zoom it in the next slide. So this has been zoomed, okay, for the frequency. Okay, so the frequency deviation in case of the conventional thing is touching to 49.8 when the electric furnace is on, but in case of this one it is less than 49.9. okay, so and during the off period around 90 seconds, so it is going beyond above 50.2, but here it is limited to 50.1. okay, so and this is the experimental results for TC5 to TC11. okay, TC5 case, okay, the THD is around 3.58. in case of conventional it is 1.85. in case of TC6, okay, test case 6, it is 7.98 and it is 4.56. This is 9.74, it is 4.82. okay, so this is the hard THD, okay, voltage harmonic distortions, okay, under various test cases. Okay, so this is the under TC8, TC9 and TC8, TC9 and TC10 test case 11. okay, so where when there is an impedance load is there, how this voltage spike is there, okay, and during the single phase unbalance, how this voltage imbalance is there, during the two phase imbalance, how the voltage how the voltage imbalance is there. So the sag in case of test case 8 and 9, so it is around the spike is around 26.67 and the sag is around 60%. But in case of the proposed method, it is voltage spike is around 6.2 and sag is 32.12. okay, so and the imbalance performance values are also considerably less in case of the proposed method. okay. And if you summarize the results in a tabular form, the proposed method having is showing better results as compared to the conventional IEP. In case of voltage spike, in case of during the arc furnace load on, okay, so the value it is reaching up to 1350. Here it is 1120. So in both the cases, it should be limited to 800. But as compared to the IEP, the value is less. okay, and the rest of the parameters are well within the limits of the standards. And here it should be around 3.16 voltage imbalance. okay, it should be less than 3%, but it is showing 3.16. But the conventional thing, it is showing 7.79. okay, so that way little violation is there here. okay. So coming to the conclusions of the proposed control scheme, okay, so the salient features of this one is like it tries to mimic the behavior of the rotary based inverters. okay, so during the dynamic any disturbances, it tries to behave like a it tries to improve the performances as per the rotor based converter, and from the operational perspective, it tries to be like a static inverter. okay, so that way, because of this closed loop control, it can cope up and tolerate the real time uncertainties, so which are described in the various test cases. okay, from the simulation results and experimental results, we can say that under different operating conditions and different disturbance conditions, the proposed method shows improved power quality. So because of this one, the improved power quality offers a opportunity to integrate the renewable energy microgrid with the grid. This helps in getting stable, continuous and reliable power supply through the adherence to the various standards. okay, and thus meeting the regulations and grid codes that are available. okay, so with this one, I will stop my presentation. okay, if you have any points to discuss, okay, so we can discuss for some time. okay.
So participants can have any doubts or queries, please ask. Any doubts or queries, please ask. Yes, please respond. Any participant, you have any queries or doubts, please ask.
So generally we will have people will be silent, okay, in two cases, okay. One, if everything is understood or if nothing is understood, okay. I hope that you understood. So this is in a positive side, I think, okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Sanjeev sir to propose vote of thanks for today's session.
So thank you, sir. Thank you very much for giving the good information about the proposed systems. So good afternoon, one and all. On behalf of Honorable Secretary, sir, Principal ma'am, conveners, co-conveners, most valued invited guests, faculty members, and participants, it's my privilege to propose vote of thanks for this session. And on behalf of St. Peter's Engineering College and entire team, I extend my heartfelt thanks to today's resource person, and I express my sincere thanks to Dr. B. Ravikumar sir for giving an excellent information about introduction to power system state transition and constraints, equality, inequality constraints, and also Indian energy scenario and technical challenges in performance aspects of microgrids and issues with the microgrid integration. Next, RES integration to grid and converters, whether it is static or rotary converters, and also CLV DCM SG control scheme and detailed analysis about those, including the case study also explained, sir. So thank you, sir. We enhanced our knowledge with this information, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you very much, sir, and readily accepting our invitation. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Dr.
very much, sir, for
Garu,
accepting our request.
yeah, thank you, Dr. Brahmaya Garu. Yeah, thanks for the management of the St. Peter's College of Engineering. Yeah, yeah. Hope I think there are no other discussion with the participants. Okay, so I will take a leave. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I can leave the meeting, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Please.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All the participants can leave the session. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, sir. All the participants can leave the session.